They say that only 30% of visitors will actually see Denali during their visit. Well, we were very fortunate to not only see it while we stayed at the park, but also as we traveled south toward Wasilla to meet up with one of our viewers. This heat wave that has taken over Alaska seemed to create this perfect day where we even overheard residents say they'd never seen Denali like this before, but it was like there wasn't a cloud in the sky as we headed south. Most travelers will head up toward Talkeetna, to a cute little village there, and also to a company that does a lot of the glacier flights up to Denali. We instead kept going because we were going to meet up with a viewer who has been a tremendous help to me on planning this trip. There's nothing like a local to tell you what you should expect and the kind of equipment you should bring. At the end of the day, Ken agreed to go on camera with me for an interview and share some of his tips about Alaska, as well as a trip that he took on the Dempster Highway last year on a motorcycle. One of the best things about having a YouTube channel is that you meet great people and you learn a lot. The guys and gals on YouTube have taught me so much about our Class B RV and the ins and outs of places we've gone. So that's the best part about having the channel. And one of those best parts is that this is Ken and his wife Lori from Wasilla? Wasilla. You sent comments that were quite long and in-depth and really helpful on things that we should look into. So I don't know if you can recall back to then, but maybe you can recall some of the things you recommended that we bring with us in that kind of that first comment that you put on my channel.
Sure. Yeah, I always kind of think about when somebody's talk about driving up here and driving around the state for a long time, because it's not like the lower 48, and you can just gauge by whoever it is. Some people are veterans and they do a lot of this and they know, but you're far from services and everything costs more to get up here, and oftentimes you'll be 200 miles away from anybody that can help you and things like that. And it's not like the wild, wild west. It's just if you're well prepared and have the right things in that with you, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, we several times we went for multiple days without any cell service. And of course, you'll pass signs. They always kind of tell you when the next services are to say, hey, look at your gas gauge. If you need gas, go get some. But then you mentioned today something about the hours of operation.
Yeah, I've heard stories from other friends that have come up, and because it stays light all the time here, you really don't think about it. What might appear to be 7 or 8ish down south in the evening, you think you have a lot of business time left, and you could be driving around at 10 o'clock at night and say, oh, I'll go get fuel now, and everybody's gone to bed.
Yeah, so...
a couple of other things I've talked about is it's when it's near 10 o'clock to at night till 6 in the morning, that's the rush hour for the animals. They want to run around the streets. So if you hit a moose and you get in trouble, or you have another traffic accident or a mechanical emergency, everybody's geared down then. You can get help, but everything's delayed. It means it's a whole other story about getting help and assistance.
And if you have no cell service, you're dependent upon someone stopping to help you.
Yeah.
And does that happen a lot? Do people how do you signal to someone you might need some help when you're pulled over on the side of the road?
Oh, have your hood up. That's generic. Yeah, have your hood up, and if you go ahead and if you have, have your flashers on, even though it's daylight. It's not quite the thing when it's dark, but people know, and people help you a lot here. And like if you're up on the Dalton, the guys have a lot of the workers. They have satellite phones, or if they're a pipeline rig, they'll have be able to get to the radio dispatch and get somebody to help you. But that's depending on a lot.
Yeah, right. Now, you have probably driven the Alaskan Highway multiple times.
I have 3 times, but I've driven all the parts of it a lot too, and
including the Dempster Highway, right?
Yeah, the Dempster. Dempster's a whole different world. Yeah.
Why is it a whole different world?
Well, going all the way up to Prudhoe, that's a work road, and these days, honestly, if you don't have time to do both, And even if you had time to do both, I would stay off the haul road. It's a work road, a lot more truck traffic. Your windshield can take.
So the Dempsters also, because I know there's another highway out of Fairbanks that is a haul road.
The Fairbanks is what we call the haul road. That's the Dalton.
I was talking about the Dempster.
Yeah, and the Dempster.
Out of
Dempster is about 20 something miles east of Dawson City. You head north, and it goes all the way up through Eagle Plains, Inuvik, and on up to Talkeetna. November 2017, it made it all the way to the ocean.
And you did it on a motorcycle.
Yeah. You can actually drive to the Arctic Ocean on the Dempster. You cannot on going up to Prudhoe.
I hear that the worst part is because of the water or the mud. Does that make it really bad?
Yeah, I had the advice when we did our motorcycle ride, if it's raining, don't, and
that's good advice.
Yeah, you hear it, but depending on what they've done to the road surface, we had 6 inches of slimy mud. Two-wheel drive vehicles weren't getting through. All right, we're up top. We just crossed out of the last hills before the coastal plain, and it's a doozy. Look at that. All right. We are stuck on the tundra. The bikes are up there, we got the front wheels free, and it was a lot of work. And these people are stuck with us, and God bless them, they have provisions. This is where we're at.
You guys know anybody in a blue jacket and a red jacket?
And we made it that far with a four-wheel drive truck with monster motors. I don't know how in the world we ever made it down this. This is their other vehicle. Oh my gosh. How you doing in there, man?
I'm doing great. You know, in the Fantastic Four, there's the rock guy, right? This is how it all started for him too, you know?
Yeah, it's been late. It's many hours later. There they go. That's what. Oh no! Hell yes! So it's just the calcium chloride they put in the dirt for the dust control. It turns real slimy and it sticks to everything. Yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah, we met some campers in Dawson City who had done it in a Volkswagen bus, and they had 2 spares, and one of them had blown out. So everybody says you should take 2 spares on the Dawson. Is that pretty standard? Most people do that, or?
Well, if you like self-reliability, yeah. I carry a patch kit, and I got a Via Air. It's just an upgraded compressor. You can look at Via Air on the internet, and you can see they're more robust compressors than your average little slime compressor. And I carry a patch kit because a lot of times you'll get up here and you get just a nail or a screw to cause you your problem. But you can plug it and keep going with the compressor.
Well, what is it about the Dempster that causes so many flats and blowouts in particular?
Well, it's better than it used to be, but the shot rock they use for construction, they blow the materials they need to lay the roadbed. In the interim, they put larger rock down while they're trying to compress it and get the roadbed built up, and those sharp rocks will stick up out of the dirt. And if you're really cautious, you can watch and don't run over anything sticking up out of the dirt ever. And you can actually see them, but if you get distracted or you follow the cars in front of you as the pace cars take you through construction, that's when you'll run over either you can get construction debris or some of the sharp rocks or anything. But stay back away from the car in front of you. You don't have to pile up on them. Just get back.
Is that different than the stuff they call chip seal?
Yeah, chip seal is just a ground base that they have mixed with crushed granite and stuff like that, and then they put a little other stuff in it to get it to stick together. Chip seal is small aggregate. The stuff they're putting down on the road construction is really big, big as your fist or larger.
Okay, so you want some really aggressive treads on your tire?
They're thicker. They do better.
Yeah.
They really do. Regular highway radials will take a cut faster than a big off-road tire.
Okay, and how often do you have to replace the windshields on your cars up here?
If you can, I have windshield coverage.
Which is what, and make sure you have zero deductible.
Yeah.
Because I know the windshield in our car is like $400-500.
Yeah, and we've done one a year on different vehicles.
And where would you? So down here in the Anchorage area, Where do you recommend people have if they get one of those little, what do you call the
stars.
The star, yeah. If you get a star, what do you recommend they do?
Novus in Anchorage is my go-to. They're really good guys and do a real professional job. You'll see little folks by the side of the road that'll do a job, but they don't have the factory training that the folks and Novus will deal with your insurance agency really well.
You know, I did a video on mosquitoes, and everybody has an opinion about mosquitoes, but you had recommended a number of things that I did, just to be sure, because mosquitoes would be different where, you know, depending on where you are and the season and that sort of thing.
It's been dry and warm here, so they're not quite so bad. When it's raining and then it'll get warm, they'll come out more. But you don't know wherever you're since you're traveling and you're all over, you could be in any of that mix. And I've used the term biblical, and they would be debilitating. They're so thick that you can't breathe at times, especially if you get up. If you do choose to do the Dalton or Dempster, you get up on the tundra, and the wind lies down a little bit. I mean, they're just covering up the animals up there, and they'll get you too. So if you have something you want to do outside of the vehicle, they'll get you. And you know, I'm prepared. I carry a head net behind every seat in every car, and I'm on the motorcycle. You stop, I'll slip it over, because they like some people more than others, and they do love me.
Yes, and they love me.
And but my wife, that doesn't bother her that much. And no-see-ums are terrible though.
When do they come out? Because we haven't seen the no-see-ums yet.
In the evenings. Anything where
they will come out.
Warmer,
okay.
Yeah.
And are there parts of the state where they're worse than other parts?
Usually the tree line, anywhere closer to the heavier vegetation when on the trails we walk. And they bite. Mosquitoes, everybody knows a mosquito bite. The no-see-ums up here, they've got some kind of earth digging machine for a mouth or something. They hurt. They cause you to bleed. They're terrible. And they cause big old, I don't like them.
Do you have ticks?
You know, it's been lightly reported now because of a little bit of warmer temperature we've had. I did see posts where people have had animals where they found ticks, but they're not really prevalent like down south.
Okay, well, last year when we were in Montana and Washington, we had a horrible tick problem. And we removed some from in the van from ourselves. And then when I was on this trip in Washington, my brother showed me a device that he had, and I'll insert a clip of that. A little kind of a plier thing that is perfect for removing ticks from the body. So I'll show those in case people want to bring them along. They're really cheap. Ken and Lori have a 2012 Pleasureway. What model was that?
XLTS.
XLTS, okay, which they don't make anymore, right? Or they put it on a different chassis?
No,
they just don't make that anymore.
No.
And of course we have our Pleasureway Ascent, and there's apparently one dealer in Alaska.
Yeah, it's a trailer craft, and they deal with Freightliner chassis.
Oh.
So those are Mercedes.
Right.
And they have technicians, but the waits are long, and their parts, they don't carry a large stockpile of inventory of parts to work on your vehicle.
So what do you recommend if somebody, for example, we had a little issue with our propane, but this happens to us once in a while. I don't know why the propane won't flow through the line. Maybe it's a regulator, I don't know. But what parts do you think people should absolutely carry with them?
Well, we've heard on the forums the propane regulators go bad. So if you really want to be prepared, and they don't cost that much, you can throw one in there, and they're not that hard to replace.
Do you have to order them through your dealer?
No, those are pretty generic parts.
They are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just,
if you can figure out what part it is.
No, they're the regulator. It's just the regulator on the side of the tank. And we have a RV repair place here in Wasilla. If you don't want to do it yourself, they'll bleed the propane off and change it out for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But I don't have the part.
I know. See, that's the problem. But I say anything you've read where they have common failure like that, if you really just want to, if you have a lot of time, you can ship it to our place. We'll wait. And you can drive by and pick it up in 2 weeks. But if that, but
well, I thought about the regulator and getting one, but there's so many things you're thinking about before you go on a trip like this.
Well, I like some of the things you did on your van. Some of the better drives in our state are amazing, and on a regular low-bodied Mercedes, you might not want to do it because you might bump your tank brackets or your drain lines or something. But when I looked at your van, I thought that was, and everybody doesn't have to do this, but I just thought it was really neat that you've done it. Now you have a lot more of Alaska open up to you because you've done that. And the Denali Highway right up here through Hatcher Pass is all dirt road. Even during those construction zones, worrying about things getting hit. But it's really, and plus you have a lot more robust tires, like you were saying too.
And a spare.
and that's fair.
Because several people have asked me our opinion now of the suspension and whether it's essential for doing this trip. And I've said, well, no, it's not essential, but it sure gives you some peace of mind.
You know, we had a Winnebago Era, and it was low to the ground. And there were another common usage here people might not know about, and you'll find out more, is it's not like lower 48. You can pull in a gravel pits or a lot of places off the highway and boondock right there, and nobody's going to bother you. Well, a lot of those places you'll look at in like the van we had, and you can look down over there and say, I'm not going to be able to get clear of that, and I'm not going to go down there. And so you just limit yourself so much. It's not necessary, but it sure makes it nice to go some of these places, the nicer roads. We have top of the world highway. What did you think of that?
Oh yeah, that was great. That actually I thought was a better road than some of the parts of the Alaskan Highway. So I don't know, maybe it's improvements they've made, because we hit one pothole that I showed on one of my previous videos. It must have been this big around. And I think actually, and this is a good point to bring up, I think this is the pothole that another couple hit. We met them up in Denali. They were in like a B+ type vehicle, and they heard weird sounds afterwards. They pulled over, and he discovered that all of his lugs were loose. They'd gotten new tires for this trip. Discovered their lugs were loose, and you had said that's probably pretty common that people get new tires and the lugs haven't been tightened enough.
Yeah.
Is that something we should test, like on the way? Could your lugs loosen up on a road trip like this?
I'll tell you, on our company vehicles up here, we have lug indicators even if such a problem. Even the shop guys will sometimes, and all those are plastic caps that go on with pointers on them, and you have to do a vehicle inspection every time before you get up there in the middle between pump stations, and you see if your indicators have moved, to see if your lugs have loosened up.
So they can loosen up from these bumpy roads.
Well, it's harder, it's rougher, especially the Dalton. You can go up there and you can have 20 miles of washboard.
Oh yeah, that's the worst. The
Yeah,
washboard is
jarring.
the worst.
Yeah, it's just terrible.
And in fact, the roads, the American side, the U.S. side of the border, the roads were worse than the Canadian side.
Yeah, there's something about the indicators we talk about. You'll see little flags or piles of stuff on the side of the road to warn you of a hazard. In Canada, they'll do it for a fill-in tar strip. You know, they're very cautious. And then in most parts of Alaska, when you see the warning, you better slow down. I've seen Class A's leave the ground on bigger things, you know, guys.
We've seen evidence of that on the road.
Yeah, the road's grooved in from trailers and suspension parts and everything, and people will actually crash. Yeah.
Yeah, the frost heave, that's something, until you've driven on frost heave, you don't really understand what people are saying. But I think that's where our suspension really shows its worth, because it helps to level out that rocking weirdness. It's almost like you're on a boat hitting a wave at a weird angle. So that's been really good.
Takes a lot of the harshness out of the expansion joints too, I bet.
Huge. Especially, I think it's something maybe about that particular model of Mercedes, because some of I've talked to people who have the larger Pleasureway with the dualies, and they say the ride has been fine. So I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I look at some of their tires and I go, I'm so glad we have bigger tires.
Yeah, that's got to help.
You know, one of the best things, though, I'm learning from the viewers about things about the RV, because I've commented before that I wish Pleasureway would do a video on every aspect of that van and its components, because it's hard to learn things. For example, our tanks always show that they're almost full. And you explained to me, and I will insert that clip of how that sensor system works.
You know, the rascals have a insulation pack around the end of your sensors.
Oh, okay.
They're right under here.
Okay.
And you don't want to take that off.
No. Yeah, explain how the tank sensors work on the black and gray tanks.
So all it does is your lights on your indicator come on when you make the circuit up, and so you got current coming through here when it's full, or as it gets full. This is just a water tank, and it's got the conductor goes through the sidewall of the tank, and so as the level comes up, it makes that circuit for that first light, and you'll see you're 1/3 full, half full, and then 3/4, and that's all it's doing is making an electrical circuit with the conductors here. So it gets gunky in there and stuff gets up in there, and that's why you clean them off. But this is a fresh water tank. They're a little bit more robust on the black water tank.
Well, how do you...
What else do we want? Places to go.
Oh, yes. Okay. So John and I came here without really any plans at all. We just said we're going to Alaska. We made reservations at Denali, and I'm going to do a whole episode on Denali, or we'll have already done it when this thing airs. And then our ferry back from Skagway to Prince Rupert. But other than that, we made no plans, which is how I recommend people travel to Alaska. Would you agree?
Yeah, because the weather can bite you, and if you can have the patience to wait out days or even a week of bad weather, you can go up to Denali, for instance, and people probably told you this, and spend a week or two there and never see the mountain. And other times you wake up in the morning and it seems like it's, I don't know, 50 feet away.
Yeah, you think it's a daily occurrence.
Yeah,
and in fact, I have to laugh because Anchorage is having a heat wave. It got all the way to 90 degrees. And so when you're from the Southwest, it's like, really? John was born and raised in Phoenix, and so anyway, it's warm. For sure it's warm.
Yeah.
But it's
far as
it's all relative.
As far as your travel itinerary, I just say staying fluid that way, and that will get you time to slow down in places you might like, or want to stop at some place and take care of some maintenance, or if you don't feel well.
Defrost your refrigerator like we had to do.
Oh, I saw that. You had a
freezer.
lot of ice. I don't know where the humidity's coming from.
And I know on my sensor push, it tells me how much humidity there is, and it's high.
Wow. Okay, so it's hot and humid.
Yes, it's hot and humid.
Inhumane. We might die.
We all do, eventually.
It's terrible.
Yeah. It probably needs to be defrosted again. But and John found a fair that he wants to go to.
Haynes.
Yeah, in
State fair in
Haynes.
Haynes,
Yeah. So if you come up without plans, we haven't had a single problem getting a place to stay. And then, of course, in Alaska, like you said, you can stay just about anywhere.
I would cautionary tale. There's no really nice, and you took clips
yes.
of it. There's no nice place to stay in Anchorage. Stay in campgrounds out here in Wasilla if you can, or Talkeetna up there at the state park. But
you said
the one place that I can recommend is you can stay in the parking lot of Cabela's. And I'm not. This is not being a nasty thing. I just like
it's
your
just
viewers
factual.
enough to tell them.
Yeah, really.
And you can show them. We have the same problem with Seattle and other places. In Anchorage, you can run in from the valley and go see everything. You might want to see the museum, or go to like we went to the Saturday market today, and that was pretty neat. And go up to Flat Top and get out of Anchorage. There's not much else to see.
Be sure if you like to hike, do the Flat Top hike. 3.2 miles, I think it is, 1,400 feet of elevation gain, but the views up there are phenomenal, even on a hazy day like today.
So close to the city.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of nice restaurants, and all your supplies, you can go there at the mall. And everything.
And where did we have lunch?
At the Moose's Tooth.
That's a famous pizza place, and it was really good.
Been on and off every year, the #1 pizza place in the country, even. It was good.
It was very good. Yeah, it was very good.
My sister-in-law is a manager there. I'm not doing that because she's there. It's just it's always crowded.
Yeah, but it is always crowded. But they do need moose track ice cream.
Yeah,
that would make it even better.
I didn't have room for ice cream.
I always have room for ice cream. And then you have recommended that we go to, obviously, Homer and Seward, and there was that one place that you said.
On the way to Valdez, stopping over to see Kennecott.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a thing that a lot of people don't get over to do, and we highly recommend
Why
that.
do they not go there?
It's out of the way, and the dirt road.
It's the dirt road.
People say, oh, the road's bad. I don't know the exact condition right now. You can do any of it slowly.
Well, we're going to do it, and we'll let you know how bad it is.
Yeah, I appreciate the feedback on it, but you're going to get over there, and you're going to go, wow, this is awesome, isn't it?
And you're the one that convinced us that we needed to do the White Horse to Dawson City over the, top of the world.
And so was it worth it?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, and because of that, another viewer who is going next year with a group of people said he's going to do it.
Okay. Feels like you're on top of the world. You can stand
It
on top
does.
of one of those hills over there, and you can't, the next thing you see is the other side of the world.
Yeah.
There's nothing north of there.
Yeah. There is something about I think the angle of the sun that makes it feel different. I don't know what it is, but another place that reminds me of is the White Mountains that are east of the Sierra Nevada.
Yeah,
that reminds me of that, way up there by the Bristol Cone Pines.
Yeah, I love it over there.
Yeah,
that's neat.
Gorgeous.
But it is forever before you see anything. And then going down to Homer, a lot of things that people don't do is like get over there and go to Halibut Cove for dinner. You get the water taxi from the harbor and go over there. And it's just neat to stay on the spit down there. And if you like to fish, you can charter out and go there, or Seward. And then you can go out of Whittier here and go fishing, or Valdez. And I say if you have time to go fishing, but you're likely to end up with 200 or 300 pounds of fish you don't know what to do with, but you'll ship it home.
Yeah, we don't eat fish, but
Yeah, they'll hold it in the freezer.
and we don't have a cat. So one of the things you would recommend we do is backtrack to Talkeetna, and perhaps depending on the weather and the conditions, take a flight up to the
I have dear friends coming up in July, the 15th. We have a charter, and K2 Aviation out of Talkeetna. They go up on skis.
Everybody mentions K2.
And they'll land you. They go around. They have different tours, but they also have a glacier landing one up there. Land you up in the amphitheater. And I haven't done it yet, but I have so many friends that have, and I've been waiting to go with someone, and they say it's just stunning.
Herman Munster.
Here, what size you wear?
13.
Well, let's see if these fit. They're tries to charm.
This too.
That's it.
That's it? Okay, good. So anyway, we've been mooch docking here, and we're going to mooch dock again tonight and head out tomorrow. But we really appreciate you putting up with us and also showing us Anchorage and some of the other sites and your Wi-Fi. That was so wonderful to have Wi-Fi again. So thank you very much.
Good.
Yeah, you and Lori are great. So
Awesome.
yeah. Okay. Thanks for watching, you guys. I'll see you next week. Texas large, Alaska large. Are you doing this, John? Oh. This is for you, Julie. And Michael.